guys, what's going on? This is Matt Wenning at winningstrength.com, and today's video is top tips for lifting success. Now, this could be in the beginning, the intermediate, or the advanced level. But before we get to that, please like, subscribe, and comment on some things that's helped you become successful in the gym. So let's get to it. First thing that I think we need to understand is that technique is everything. But what is technique? Well, in my opinion, technique is the ability to maintain form under either high velocity, high fatigue, or high strain. Those are three kind of completely different areas that we need to be focusing on in our training. Even if our major goal is not to be super strong, technique matters. Even if our goal is only hypertrophy, in some phases of training, we need to work on rate of force. And even if our goal is not to be super strong, we still need to have heavy efforts in our training in order to elicit more progress. And so I want to dive into these three separate areas and start to get you guys to understand that maybe you're missing one and how you may be able to apply it a little bit better. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, I wanted to go over a little background on myself. I started lifting at 12 and a half years old. My dad was super sick with cancer, and I was actually going to look for father figures in the gym. Fortunately enough for me, only about a mile away from my house, where there was a local YMCA, where there were some really good lifters in town that took me under their wing and started to teach me the different variables of lifting. Now, although they were old school and didn't understand a lot of the different things that I learned in the future, it was a good process because they had the right muscle groups in line. So the first thing I want to talk about today is muscle groups you should be focusing on when you're in the beginning stages of training, but it never ends no matter what phase you're in. The first thing is we always want to get a strong back before a strong front. I know that you guys may have seen the video of Mike Israetel giving me props for training Stone Cold Steve Austin and focusing on his posterior chain. This is not an uncommon problem that we see with people that focus on and tend to see in the mirror. So my point being is, like, a lot of times we train anterior because it's what we see in the mirror. You know, it's what we have in front of us in our vision. But in reality, the muscle groups behind us are the most important for our development and safety. At the top, we have all the musculature of the scapula. This is the subscapularis muscles, the rhomboids, the lats, the rear delts especially, the rotator cuff muscles. All of these muscles play a crucial part in our ability to not only lift better, but also sustain anterior pressure through benching, overhead pressing if we do that, and a lot of other different exercises that if the back muscles aren't supportive, we can have a huge problem. So you got to make sure that those have key precedence in your workout to make sure that you're training them correctly. The next big thing I think you want to focus on is lower down the posterior chain, the lower back. The lower back musculature is very complex, surrounded by bone, lots of ligaments. Therefore, when you pull it or you strain a lower back muscle, it tends to take a while to heal, right? We've all been there. But how do we keep that from happening? Well, one, we got to make sure the supportive muscles around the corset are ready for training. This is the transverse abdominis, right? That's a muscle we don't hear a lot of people talk about, more so recently than in the past, but the TVA is an important muscle to help the lower back lock itself into place. The next thing we need to be doing is making sure we're reinforcing proper technique with the lower back. You know, not doing a lot of Jefferson curls or a lot of lower back flexion exercises, right? Flexion has been shown in a lot of studies over the last 35 years to be the major cause of spinal issues. Now, if it gets too severe, you can talk disc problems, nerve pinching issues. But in the short term, usually most people are just going to pull a ligament or pull a muscle. Usually that means that something's either overtrained or overdone in the wrong area. So make sure those are fixed. The next big thing that I want to focus on is glutes and hamstrings. Now, glutes and hamstrings have been popularized by a lot of different people. But the thing of it is really the glutes and hamstrings should help the lower back protect itself. And so if you look at a lot of top level lower back people, they talk about a thing called glute amnesia. And like me sitting and doing this video right now, I'm sitting on my glutes, I'm actually shutting them off, and now my lower back is going to be at more of a risk when I hop up and do something hard. We see this a lot with the fire department and first responder people that we work with, which is why it's so imperative that they do their glute ham raises and their reverse hypers and all these exercises at least every 72 hours to make sure these muscle groups are hot and ready to go. Therefore, they can jump up and take a run and pick up a patient and take him to the hospital or get somebody out of a burning building. But for the normal person, it's still just as important for the average gym person. You need to make sure that your glutes and your hamstrings are activated correctly. And the only way to do that is to constantly turn them on with proper exercises. As you get stronger, you can work your way up to glute ham raises and harder exercises. But what you really want to do is focus on attacking these areas with as minimal compression as possible. So we try to pick traction-based exercises in order for us to not have these issues. This is a big issue and a big step to making sure that your success is going upward instead of downward. The last thing I wanted to talk about today was making sure that you're outsourcing to specialized people. We've talked about online coaching at winningstrength.com, and we have some of the best in the world. But even if you don't go that far, you want to get tips and assessments from people that know more. And this will shorten your learning curve much, much faster. It'll make you be able to get your weights up way quicker and way safer. But it's always better to have an extra eye on you. And it's real easy to do right now with your phone. We do assessments at winningstrength.com as well. There are a lot of other places that can do it. But make sure you have professional eyeballs on what you're doing, especially if you're unsure of what to do. In the first 1 to 3 years of training, you can create poor motor patterns that will make you take multiple steps back in order to go forward. And that's where you see a lot of people have problems because, you get up to a 275, 315 plus bench press, and then you realize you've been doing things a little bit wrong and you got to go backwards to go forwards. It's a hell of an ego hit. So what I recommend is start right from the beginning. And again, if you are older or you're aged and you have some mileage, it's even more important to have a good coach on your side to select the right exercises, the right volume, and the right intensity. Because let's just face it, when you get older, you don't recover from poor selections of exercises, intensities, or volumes as well as you do when you're younger. So what I find is that for people that are using this as an anti-aging thought process, optimization is crucial. Now, optimization is not always 100% foolproof, but the more educated people you have around you, the closer you will be to an optimized training program for you. So I hope this video has helped a little bit. I hope it's answered a couple of questions. If you want to check out smarter exercises that we have from people almost 70 all the way down to 21, hop on top to your Patreon. If you want something a little bit more budget friendly and a little bit less Q&A, you can hop on our Train Heroic, and it has tutorial videos. We have a conjugate app, and we also have a tactical app. So if you're into a little bit more cardio, the tactical app will be a little bit better. And if you're into purely just getting stronger, building muscle mass, bone density, and tissue resiliency, the conjugate one will be great as well. Talk to you guys soon.